Hello there and welcome to another episode of Last Week Tonight where we delve into the often confusing world of politics and current events because, let's face it, someone has to make sense of this mess. This week's episode focuses on a story that reads like a rejected plotline from House of Cards, involving none other than tech mogul Elon Musk, the US Treasury, and a whole lot of controversy. Now you might be wondering what on earth a tech billionaire is doing meddling in government affairs. Well, it seems Mr. Musk's ambitions extend far beyond electric cars and space travel. Shortly after the inauguration of a certain someone whose name rhymes with rump, Musk's team at the Treasury Department made a rather audacious request. They wanted to halt all USAID payments through the Treasury's payment system. Yes, you heard that right. They wanted to use the government's own system to essentially turn off the tap on foreign aid. Now, you might be thinking, hold on a minute, John, don't you need, actual authority to do something like that? And you'd be absolutely right. The acting secretary at the time, a chap named David Liebrick, seemed to share your skepticism. He basically said, "Whoa there fellas, I'm not sure we have the legal right to just stop authorized payments because you fancy a bit of a power trip." This is where things get really interesting. Rather than backing down, one of Musk's appointees at the Treasury, a fellow named Tom Kraus, decided to double down. He essentially told Liebrick that he could face legal consequences if he didn't comply with their request. Talk about pressure tactics. It's like trying to return a sweater without a receipt because you lost it in the wash, but on a much grander, more governmental scale. This back and forth between Liebrick and Kraus was just the tip of the iceberg. Emails later revealed that another Musk associate, Daniel Katz, was also pushing for the halt of USAID payments. Katz, who was the chief of staff for then Treasury Secretary nominee Scott Bessent, argued that the State Department needed to review these payments to ensure they aligned with the new administration's directives. In other words, they wanted to make sure the money was going to places they approved of. Liebrick, bless his cotton socks, continued to push back. He cited legal concerns and potential liability issues, but Kraus and his team were insistent. They wanted those payments paused, and they wanted it yesterday. This whole situation raises a rather important question. Why were Musk's associates so adamant about stopping these payments in the first place? What was their endgame? Was this about fiscal responsibility, or was something else at play? These are questions that frankly deserve answers. As you can imagine, news of this attempted power play didn't go down too well in certain circles. Politicians from both sides of the aisle voiced their concerns, with some even calling for a full-blown investigation. The story quickly spiraled into a political and legal quagmire, with emergency court proceedings and everything. People were understandably concerned about the potential implications for government transparency, accountability, and of course the security of their hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Adding fuel to the fire was the revelation that Kraus's initial request for access to the payment system was far more extensive than the read-only access the Treasury later claimed he was granted. This raised even more red flags about the true intentions behind this whole debacle. Were they planning on doing more than just looking at these payments? The whole ordeal left a bad taste in the mouths of many Americans, and rightfully so. It reeked of backroom deals, power grabs, and a blatant disregard for established protocols. It was a stark reminder that even in a supposedly democratic society, those with wealth and influence often operate by a different set of rules. Section 4, the significance of the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. Now you might be wondering, John, what about this Bureau of the Fiscal Service you mentioned earlier? What's their role in all of this? Well, dear viewers, the Bureau of the Fiscal Service, or BFS as it's known in bureaucratic circles, is a little-known but incredibly important part of the Treasury Department. Think of it as the unsung hero, the workhorse, the behind-the-scenes operator that keeps the entire financial system running smoothly. This unassuming office handles trillions of dollars in payments every single year. We're talking tax refunds, social security benefits, federal salaries, the whole shebang. It's a massive undertaking, and one that requires a great deal of trust and responsibility. So, when someone starts sniffing around the BFS with questionable motives, it's bound to raise a few eyebrows, to say the least.